My greetings to everyone. I am Professor Namita Rajput, Professor in Department of Commerce, Sri Aurobindo College, University of Delhi. In the ongoing series of Entrepreneurship and Venture Planning, today we are discussing a pertinent topic called Emergence of the Entrepreneurial Class. Now we have discussed in the first part the different types. Now we are on to a very important topic called Innovating Entrepreneurs and the Economic Development. The traditional entrepreneurs primarily engage in the standard production activities. However, innovating entrepreneurs go beyond the conventional practices by introducing the new techniques, exploring the untapped markets, and establishing the novel business structures, and their contribution lead to 1. The creation of the new demand, reduction in the product prices, and the economic equilibrium shifts that fosters the industrial growth. Now these entrepreneurs, they help and maintain the economic monetary flow and generate the profits by actively contributing to the overall economic development. Let's do a very important part called what are the qualities of innovating entrepreneurs. 1. The knowledge of innovation, understanding and identifying the new business operations, application of the innovations, that is implementing the new techniques in the business operations. The third is your success through innovation, achieving the growth by the leveraging of the innovative strategies. Unlike others who are influenced by the external environment, these entrepreneurs are self-driven, goal-oriented, motivated by their own ambitions. They exert a control over their own business operations and strive for self-actualization. Next we have is the role of societal and economic factors. Entrepreneurial success depends on the combination of individual ability and the external circumstances, while sharp intelligence and the business acumen are very crucial for the entrepreneurship. External conditions like the political stability, economic freedom, and also a role to play. Historically, the foreign rule and the restrictive environment have suppressed the entrepreneurial growth in some regions. However, the entrepreneurs can emerge from all social backgrounds as seen in Japan, where many successful entrepreneurs have originated from a lower economic strata. And definitely, when you do this elaboration, the emergence of the entrepreneurial class in India, broken down by the historical phases and supported by the concrete examples. The first is your pre-independence era. That is when you talk about the context and the trade dynamics. Before India gained independence, it was a very prosperous land that attracted the numerous external influences. During this period, the economy was marked by a vibrant trade networks that extended beyond the India's border. Mughal influence. The arrival and the sentiment of the Mughal played a very significant role. They introduced a currency-based economy which helped move away from the traditional barter system. This change laid the groundwork for more complex commercial activities and created an environment where the entrepreneurship could flourish. British colonial trade. With the advent of the British rule, there was a deliberate shift in the economic policies. The British extracted the raw materials such as the cotton, oil seeds from the India and sent them to UK, where they were processed. This systematic transfer of the wealth meant that the local trade existed and the Indian industry was deliberated, stunned by the colonial policies. Despite the wealth generated from the trade, the true entrepreneurial ventures were very limited because the colonial framework prioritized the resources extraction over the local value addition. The second is your early 18th century, the dormancy and the dearth. The economic conditions. In the early 18th century, under the continued business influence, the Indian industries were largely dormant and the economy was heavily skewed towards the production of the cash crops rather than essential food grains, which not only affected the local economy but also had a dire consequences for the population, including the severe famines. Impact on entrepreneurship. The focus on the cash crops limited the development of the indigenous manufacturing or the entrepreneurial ventures in the traditional sectors. So instead, the region economic energy was funneled into the meeting the demands of the colonial power. Next is your 1920, the incident industrial spark, that is shift due to global conflict. The outbreak of the First World War disrupted the smooth flow of the raw material to the Britain, compelling the colonial rules and the rulers to adapt their strategy. The rise of the local manufacturing. As the raw material transferred became unreliable, the Britain began to set up the manufacturing in India. The change was pivotal in creating the first spark of the local industry. Let's take an example. The Mumbai textile mills, the establishment of the textile mills in Mumbai signaled a nascent move towards the industrialization and the local entrepreneurial ventures. And it marked the beginning of indigenous industries which later paved the way for a most diverse economic activities. Then in 1930 to the mid-40s, that is the birth of the Indian entrepreneurship. The foundational growth. During this period, the economic and the political ferment was influenced by the independence movement. Notably, under the guidance of Mahatma Gandhi, the emphasis on the self-reliant and indigenous development created an environment which is very conducive to the entrepreneurial endeavors. Emergence of visionary entrepreneurs. There are several pioneering entrepreneurs which laid the foundation for the modern Indian industry by establishing the enterprises in the diverse sectors. Now, establishing the entrepreneurs in the diverse sectors. The first is J.R.D. Tata. Beyond aviation, with the founding of Tata Airlines, which later became Air India, Tata ventured into the sectors like steel, railway, textile and the power. His efforts not only spurred the industrial growth but also built the infrastructure which is very crucial for the nation building. G.D. Birla. The Birla Group diversified into textiles, vehicles, power, cement, chemicals and the heavy industries. Their business model was instrumental in moderating and modernizing the Indian economy. S.L. Kirloskar, which is known for establishing a robust base in manufacturing machine tools and the pumps and the farm equipment. Kirloskar Enterprises played a very key role in mechanizing the agriculture and the industry. Jamnalal Bajaj. His focus on the transport sector, especially in the development of the two-wheelers and the three-wheelers, made personal mobility more accessible and stimulated the further economic activity. The fifth we are going to talk about is the post-independence era, that is 1947 onwards. Reclaiming the economic control. The year 1947 brought the independence, resulting in a dramatic shift as the business leadership and economic control returned to Indians. This period saw a reorganization of economic structures where the Indian previously sidelined became to take charge of the local business and industries. Empowerment of the indigenous class. The Indian agents, employees and the market intermediaries stepped into the role that had been dominated by the colonial entities. Now, this paved the way for the greater innovation and investment in the diverse fields. The sixth is your late 1960s, that is the institutional backing and democratization of the business. The policy shifts and the investment climate. The late 1960 witnessed a significant government interventions with the nationalization of the banks and the insurance companies. This policy move resulted in the availability of the large pool of capital that could be channelized into the small scale industries. Broadening the investment base. With the earlier access to the funds, entrepreneurship was no longer to preserve of a few wealthy families. Instead, the common citizens could invest in the small scale industries, leading to a challenge to establish business monopolies and also increase in the grassroots entrepreneurial ventures that contributed significantly to the industrial growth. The seventh is your 1970 to mid 1985. The flourishing era for the small scale industries. We call it as SSI. The economic boom and the policy support. This period is characterized by the robust economic growth and the favorable government policies that encouraged the development of the small scale industries. The synergy between the organized and the unorganized sectors result in growth indicators. A remarkable growth rate reaching up to 8.9% in some years, significant contribution to India's GDP and the diverse entrepreneurial initiatives. The entrepreneurs from the varied backgrounds, including the technocrats, artisans, rural craftsmen, and even the younger generation, both educated and uneducated. Now leveraged the availability of the funds and the supportive policies to set up the innovative enterprises. This era is remembered as one of the most dynamic period in the evolution of the Indian industrial landscape. Then we have is the mid 1980, the era of the license Raj and the industrial sickness, the regulatory constraints and the market stagnation. By the mid 1980, India's industrial framework was heavily regulated by the license Raj systems. This involved the bureaucratic hurdles. Extensive licensing quotas and permits led to a monopolistic market environment. What are the consequences? The decline in exports due to reduced competitiveness, the proliferation of the cheaper grey market goods from the developed countries like Germany and Japan, rising industrial sickness, which forced the several companies in the organized sector to cease operations. Now, this period underscored the need for a more flexible and the globally competitive regulatory environment. Then we have in 1990s the liberation and the modern entrepreneurial resurgence. Economic reforms and the global integration. The 1990s marked a dramatic shift with the economic liberalization reforms. The government dismantled many restrictive policies like ease of doing business, delicensing and simplified procedures for import and export, opening up of the sectors to the direct foreign investments and encouragement of the technical collaborations and the knowledge transfer. The impact on the entrepreneurship. These reforms unleashed a new wave of entrepreneurial activity. Industrial began to flourish once again as the domestic market was finally integrated with the global economy. Then we have in the mid 1990s the emergence of the third generation of the entrepreneurs, the new leadership and the modern business models. The mid 1990s witnessed the rise of the new generation of the business leaders who redefined the business corporate landscape. There are some notable examples like Rahul Bajaj. Under the leadership, Bajaj Auto became one of the largest two-wheelers, and of course, the manufacturer symbolizing a modern approach to scaling up the business and the distribution. Then we have another example called Mahindra Group, which diversified from its traditional roots and they expanded into automobiles, IT services, even the agriculture, demonstrating the versatility and the innovation. Then we have the Ambani families pioneering in the telecommunications, petrochemicals, the retail. These Ambani brothers transformed the business environment by embracing the new technologies, aggressive market strategies. Then we have Ratan Tata and Kumaramangalam Birla. The leaders like Ratan Tata and the Kumaramangalam Birla built the conglomerates that not only spanned the multiple industries but also emphasized the corporate governance and the global partnerships. So, this generation of the entrepreneurs was instrumental in aligning the India's industries with the global standards and the practices, setting the stage for a new era of innovation. Then in 2000 onwards, the service sector and the global market entry, the service-led growth and the new frontiers. The turn of the millennium marked a significant shift from the manufacturing to the services, further propelling the India's onto the global stage. Then we have expansion in the IT and BPO. The service sector, especially the IT and the business processing outsourcing, they saw a rapid growth, and the companies like Infosys, TCS and the Wipro emerged as the global players, symbolizing a shift in the entrepreneurial focus, the diversification into the new industries, the biotechnology, hospitality and beyond. There is a new age entrepreneurs which begin exploring the biotechnology and the healthcare and hospitality, diversifying the entrepreneurial portfolio of India. Then we have the continued industrial leadership. The legacy companies like Bajaj and Ambuja Cement continued to innovate, Bajaj in manufacturing the two-wheelers and Ambuja in achieving the cost-effective cement production, both showcasing the resilience, adaptability of the Indian business practices. Then we have the global competitiveness. The Indian companies begin to not only serve the domestic markets, but also cater to the global customers. This transition was supported by the modern technology and was supported by the overall educational infrastructure and the favorable regulatory reforms. Then we have from 2010. Yes, we are talking about the digital revolution and the startup boom, the context and impact on the entrepreneurship. The 2010 marked a significant shift in the Indian entrepreneurial landscape with the rise of the digital economy. This particular period witnessed the rapid internet penetration, smartphone adaptation and the government-backed digital initiatives, creating an ecosystem which is very conducive to the startups and innovations. There are some key developments and examples. The first is your rise of e-commerce and online marketplaces. The companies like Flipkart, founded by Sachin Bansal and Binny Bansal, revolutionized the retail sector by bringing an online shopping to the Indian customers. Then we have Paytm, founded by Vijay Shekhar Sharma. They transformed the digital payments, making a cashless transaction accessible across the urban and the rural markets. Then we have Zomato, founded by Dipinder Goyal and the Pankaj Chadda, and the Swiggy, founded by Sri Hashra Majhe, Nandan Reddy and Rahul Gemini, changed the food delivery industry, fostering the convenience-based consumption. Now, as far as the government support and the startup culture is concerned, Startup India Initiatives 2016. Now, we will be talking about this program. This program provided a funding support, tax benefits and easy the regulatory compliance, allowing the new enterprise to thrive. Then the Digital India campaign led to increased internet connectivity, mobile banking penetration, financial inclusion, enabling the business like PhonePe and BharatPe to scale rapidly. So this decade paved the way for the Indian transformation into a global startup hub, with the multiple unicorns emerging in the fintech, edtech and the e-commerce and SaaS, that is software as a service. Then 2020, the rise of deep tech, the green economy and the global expansion. The context and the impact of the entrepreneurship in 2020 witnessed a further evolution of the Indian entrepreneurial ecosystem with a focus on deep technology, sustainability and the global market expansion. with the digital transformation accelerating due to COVID-19, there are several new age business emerged and the Indian startups expanded internationally. There are some key developments and the examples. The first is the tech-driven innovation. Byju's, founded by Baiju Ravindran, revolutionized the edtech with AI-powered learning, making the education accessible beyond the physical classrooms. Zerodha, founded by Nitin Kamath and Nikhil Kamath, disrupted the stock trading with a commission-free brokerage model, democratizing the investment in India. Then we have the green economy and sustainability driven business. Ola Electric, founded by Bhavish Agarwal, became a leader in the electric mobility, aligning with the India's goal of reducing the carbon emissions. Renew Power, founded by Sumant Sinha, emerged as the India's largest renewable energy company, driving a large-scale solar and wind energy projects. Then we have India's startups going global. The Freshworks, founded by Girish, became the first India SaaS company to list on the Nasdaq. Nykaa, founded by Falguni Nair, expanded from the Indian beauty brand to a globally recognized e-commerce player. With advancements in the AI, blockchain and the clean energy, the Indian entrepreneurial class is now at the forefront of the global innovation, further solidifying India's role as a major economic powerhouse. So we can say that the evolution of the entrepreneurial class in India is a tale of adaptation, resilience from the Asian trade routes which influenced the Mughal practices, policies influenced the Indian trade practices, the modern service-driven industry, the Indian entrepreneurship has continuously reinvented itself. We have seen the different historical phases, the pioneering figures, their illustrations, examples, which very, very clearly identify what, when, where happened. When you talk about the historical phases, each era from the colonial disruptions to a post-independence reorganization, from the regulated environment to a liberated markets, they have contributed uniquely to shaping the entrepreneurial landscape. There are some pioneering figures which we have already talked about, like contributions of the visionaries like J.R.D. Tata, G.D. Birla, Kirloskar, and later the leaders like Rahul Bajaj, Ratan Tata, Ambani's. They highlight the diverse strategies that has propelled the India's growth. Now we are going to talk about the modern implications. Today, Indian entrepreneurship is a blend of the traditional resilience, the modern innovation, repositioning the country as a significant player on the global economic stage. Now, this layered evolution illustrates not only the emergence but also the continuous transformation of the entrepreneurial class in India, reflecting the broader socio-economic changes, the global influences over time. Now, let's see the type of entrepreneurs across the generations. Entrepreneurs has evolved across the generations, shaping the economies and industries worldwide. The generational classification of the entrepreneurs have helped us understand their unique characteristics, challenges, and the contributions to the business and economic development. The first is your first generation entrepreneurs. The first generation entrepreneurs are individuals who establish a business for the first time without any prior business background in their family. Now they are self-made, taking the risk to create the wealth, employment opportunities from scratch. These entrepreneurs are the different types of innovators bringing the fresh ideas, disruptive business models, and the new technologies to the market. Now, there are some key traits of the first generation entrepreneurs like risk-taking ability. They invest their own capital, bear the full risk of success and failures. Innovators and pioneers, they introduce the new concepts, products and services, often revolutionizing the industries. Self-made leaders, unlike those who inherit business, they build everything from the ground. High resilience and perseverance. Since they start from zero, they face numerous challenges but persist in making their vision a reality. Now let's see what the challenges do they face. The lack of financial resources, no business mentorship, and of course, the market instability. They operate in the unpredictable market and face the resistance to the new ideas. Let's take some examples of the first generation entrepreneurs in India. Like we have Sunil Bharati Mittal, the founder of Bharati Airtel, a leader in telecom services. Narayan Murthy, a co-founder of Infosys, a global IT service giant. Dhirubhai Ambani, the founder of Reliance Industries, one of India's largest business conglomerate. Kiran Majumdar Shah, the founder of Biocon, a leading biotechnology company. Now let's move on to the second generation entrepreneurs. They inherit and manage the business set up by their first parents. Unlike their predecessors, they enter as an already established business environment, but they must navigate the new complexities, market competition, technological advancements. Now their challenge lies in sustaining, modernizing and expanding the existing business while maintaining the legacy. So there are some key important traits of this, like they have to maintain, and they are the custodians of the family legacy. They have to be adaptive leaders. The strategic decision making is also important. They often need to make some crucial business decisions such as diversification or expansion. Then we have the blend of traditional and the modern approaches. They integrate their parents' business philosophy with the new age management techniques. There are definitely some challenges which are faced, like pressures of expectation, resistance to change, workforce technological changes. Like for example, the second generation entrepreneurs in India, Mukesh Bhai and Anil Bhai Ambani, they are the sons of Dhirubhai. They expanded and diversified the Reliance Industries. Then we have the Ratan Tata. They took over the Tata Group from the predecessors and transformed into a global powerhouse. Kumar Mangalam Birla inherited the Aditya Birla Group and modernized its operations. Now we have the third generation entrepreneurs. They are the individual whose grandparents were entrepreneurs. Now these business leaders inherit a well-being business and must deal with the complex corporate structure, global expansion and the succession planning. They are responsible for keeping the family business relevant in an era of digital transformation, globalization and increased competition. There are some important traits of the third generation, like we have the business expansionist, sustainable advocates, tax-savvy leaders, global thinkers, and there are definitely some challenges which they face, like succession planning, then changing the consumer behavior, maintaining the brand loyalty. So there are some examples of the third generation, like we have Prijusha Godrej, Siddharth Lal, who is actually, they took over the Royal Enfield and redefined its brand for the modern. Then we have Nisaba Godrej, leading government products and driving the business practices. Then we have the fourth generation, in which they have two generations already working and their great grandparents started the business. So they also have to build their legacy, have the diversified experts, digital and global innovations, professionalization, and definitely they also face the challenge of business decline, how to manage the multiple business verticals, how there are definitely the ownership conflicts which they have to manage. Like we have Harsh Goenka, the chairman of RPG Group, part of the fourth generation business dynasty. Then we have Noel Tata, the member of Tata family, overseeing the retail and international business expansion. So we have seen this journey across the generations, which show a dynamic shift in the leadership styles, challenges and approaches. Thank you very much.